Hello, geeks and gamers. Matt Lemke here with Through Gamer Goggles. We're at Con on the Cob. This is 2413. Yeah, I do that every year. And we are here with Erin and Colleen Garlock of Gothic City Press and Sacred City Productions. They're two unique ventures. It's really pretty much anthologies that Gothic City Press does.
Correct.
And the Sacred City Productions is something that's evolving out of your photography career, effectively.
Yes.
Okay. So why don't we start with what you do at the cons, which is Gothic City Press.
Okay.
You've had 3 books in production, and you're getting ready to start your 4th.
Correct.
Yes.
Good. I did something right this weekend. The first one was last year at Con on the Cob. The deadline was actually the day after Con on the Cob, if I remember correctly.
Actually, last year we started with the concept of the book at Con on the Cob. I went through this crazy phase where, hey, let's do a book. The con's in 2 weeks. So we put together the business card, website, a little video introduction because we were looking for writers. And so we got some writers here. And at the end of the year, right at the end of December, we released the first book. So Conviction.
Yeah,
Stories by gamers for gamers, or by convention attendees for convention attendees.
Wasn't the theme supposed to be for things that happen at the con?
No.
Oh man, I totally misunderstood it.
It was really, it could be anything. We were just hoping to have people who were somehow connected to gaming conventions. We did manage to get a story in the first book that just nailed the concept of attending a convention, but I think it was more of a Comic Con.
Well, the first story by Matt Kelly takes place at a gaming convention. Actually, it's a comic convention.
It's a comic convention.
And
he's on the quest for the holy grail of comics.
Oh,
that's
great.
Is a brilliant, very well done story. And anyone who is a gamer, anyone who's a geek, anyone who's into comics, when they read this, they will very much identify with it.
If I remember correctly, the book is $8 in print, and it's $4 ebook.
Yeah, here at the con.
Here
so
at the
we're
con.
running it.
Oh, so what is the ebook normally priced?
The ebook is on Amazon for $5. The print book's $10. All of our books are that way.
Okay.
We have a 20% sale here at the con. If you want to buy more books, we have a special price for all 3 of them together.
Right.
$7 for the ebooks and $20 for all 3 print books.
Well, that's not so bad.
No.
That's pretty good. It's like buy one get one free.
Right.
And well, you already said Conviction 1 came out pretty much at the end of last year.
Correct.
When did Conviction 2 come out?
Conviction 2 came out this past Friday.
Oh, wow.
We held it for Con on the Cob.
Yes.
So if you want it, you can get it now.
Right.
So we have it here at the con, and it's also available on Amazon now.
And these stories aren't just like originally. Here's a little bit of background. I thought that they just went around and they did this kind of semi-locally in the driving area, which could be like 800 miles or whatever you want to drive. But Erin let me know yesterday that it's a representative of 29 conventions, correct?
19 conventions.
See, I'm terrible.
Yeah, so we have 19 conventions represented. So we have Con on the Cob here. We have 3 authors from Con on the Cob. That's where we know most of the authors from. But we have somebody from AnCon. And then we start branching out all across the world. We have people from the Ottawa Comic Con, Aricia I think it's in California, Zombie Con.
You said something about like the Czech Republic?
Yes.
Yeah, we have from all over the world.
From all over the world.
So the U.S., obviously, Canada.
I would figure that's the big ones,
right?
U.S. and Canada.
Beijing, Australia, England, Ireland, and...
How did you manage that?
We posted originally on Duotrope. It's kind of a writer's market listing.
Oh, really?
And so we got some hits there. And what I found was there are other writer market listings that feed off Duotrope. And so we're listed in Dark Markets, which is out of the UK. I didn't put the listing there. It just appeared.
It's always good when that happens.
Yes.
Right.
I love that.
So I started getting all these
submissions
from England. I was like,
where's this coming from?
right.
and
we're
Well,
also-
it's a unique market for
Right.
what
it
I
is,
mean.
it
It is
very
really what you're
unique.
doing. So
It's very niche.
Yeah, and we're also listed on Horror Tree,
Right.
which is out of the UK as well. Or I believe it's out of the UK.
So I think the UK listings are what drove the international authors that came forward for us.
Makes sense.
Obviously, they saw it and it was international and they submitted and that's how we got it. We're still getting submissions. So.
And the third book, Clerics, Charlatans, and Cultists.
Yes.
What went into that? Because that's a different theme than the con experience, obviously.
It is a very different theme. It is a very dark theme. It is loosely religiously based, but not in what you would call a good way. It's not, praise the Lord and pass the biscuits kind of thing. It's more about the dark aspect about what happens when someone forms a cult, or you've got a cleric gone rogue, or you've got a snake oil salesman. And those were sort of the bases for what we were looking for in the stories. And we were not disappointed. We really got quite a collection there of really well-written pieces that sort of explored the darkness, the dark side of faith, of religion, of obsessiveness when it comes to becoming a cult and how that works. And so there's a lot of different stuff in there. There's humor in it.
Yeah, we have a deific duck.
Yeah.
So we have a very
The
light
duck
humor.
story, buy the book for the duck story alone. The duck story alone is worth the entire price of the book. It's hysterical.
And now there's it's not a fourth one for Gothic City Press, but Sacred City, you're starting to open up the doors for another project. Do you actually have a title for the project yet?
We do have a title. It's Revelation the Seals. So it's themed around the opening of the 7 seals in the book of Revelation. So obviously we have 7 books planned. We've already started receiving submissions. Nearing completion for taking submissions for the first book.
Oh, when is the deadline?
The deadline for the first book is February 2nd. So we still need 3
got a
or
few
4.
months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a few
Yeah.
months. But we're going to start editing it now, start doing some of the layout.
And just to be clear, that when I said it's not for Gothic City Press, it really is for their other company, Sacred City Productions, which grew out of the photography, which is why it became Productions. But
Right. So Gothic City's devoted to fiction, predominantly dark fiction, thus the name Gothic City. Sacred City is geared towards religious items. So our first book out of that was actually a rosary book. It was a prayer book based on my photography of stained glass windows in the Cleveland Diocese. So we kind of went from both extremes. We have the dark fiction and then we have the religion
so you just
on
need
the
to
other
open
side.
another press company for the in-between.
Well, that's what Clerics, Charlatans, and Cultists did for us. It allowed us to take religion and marry it to the dark fiction. So it's kind of an in-between.
Yeah.
And so it's not specifically a Christian-themed book, but it is religion. But the Revelation books are specifically Christian. So they take a Christian worldview. And it's not Jesus in your face. And like Colleen said, praise the Lord and pass the biscuits. It's taking our faith and writing stories around that, but it doesn't have to be specific. I'm a Christian and you can tell, and it's in your face. But we see the Christian worldview. So if you think like Chronicles of Narnia, if you're a Christian, you can see that Christian message in there. You got Aslan, who's the Christ figure, who dies, and the symbolism's very apparent there. And if you're not a Christian and you don't know that story, it's still a good
Still
story.
enjoy it.
Right.
So we're doing the same thing with that sort of viewpoint. Some of it's a little more not apparent, so it's not as obvious as Narnia might be. my favorite authors in this genre is Ted Dekker. You know, a lot of his stories start out where you're not quite sure who the good guy is for a while.
Well, that's good.
And you're not quite sure who the bad guy is. And at the beginning, you're like, I think this is the good guy, but then it kind of changes.
Right.
But as you go through the story, you start seeing sort of those Christian elements come out. You're making good decisions, maybe good things happen, not always. But if you're making bad decisions, it's very apparent that there are going to be consequences. So we have, that going on. We do have one story that's very, the Christ figure is obvious, and you can see how the people rally around, the sacrifice of that character. We have another one that's sort of the Knight Templar protecting the people, and it's his faith keeping him going, but you don't really know what's going to happen because of that faith. It's not always a pleasant experience, willing to sacrifice oneself for one's beliefs, whatever they are.
Right. So what's next?
What's next? Sky's the limit. We're a small press. This is the entire staff.
Yeah, so we're it.
And
it's not all they do.
Not at all.
No. So we want to do some more books. Gothic City Press. We're not sure what the next book is. We have submissions already for Conviction number 3. We'd like to continue that.
We really would like to continue that. And if it turns into something else where it ends up being more of a thematic thing like clerics, charlatans, and cultists, then that's fine too. I agree with Erin that the sky's the limit here. And we know that people who attend cons are very imaginative, very creative, very artistic. And that's why we thought putting ourselves out there and saying, hey, we know you guys write stuff. We know that you put stuff together for games. We know you've got that imagination going. If you've got something, submit it to us. We want to get people noticed. We want to get the talent out there. It's very important to us, especially if it's a first time publication for that person. That's very important to us.
So
actually,
new writers are
New
encouraged.
writers, big time.
Actually,
big time.
That's part of our business model, is helping people get discovered, make entry into their genre or just the publishing world in general. So we have what we call our first timers, and so these are authors that have either their first publication or their first paid publication. Maybe they did some, online, zine stuff and were published.
Oh, anybody like that?
Right. So, so for all of these people, this is their first, not all of our authors, but for the first timers, this is their first paid gig. And so out of the 3 books, we have 9 first timers.
Oh, that's not bad. How many stories are in each book, roughly?
About 12. One's got 14, one's got
so it's about
12 to 13.
So like 35%ish, maybe.
Yeah, about a third.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. And so we're looking to help other writers. We run also on our Gothic City website. We run a flash fiction. It's an unpaid, but if you got something that's kind of dark and urban, send it to us, and we try and put a post up every week. Sometimes we'll miss a week because we're busy or whatever.
Like you're here.
Right. So I'm here. Actually, I knew I was going to be here, so I posted on Wednesday. So it was 2 days early. I'm going to try and post on Friday. But we're looking to also help people improve their craft. We had one guy send us a story that it was a good story. It was terribly written. A lot of grammar, a lot of punctuation.
Oh, yeah.
And I wrote back to him, and it's like, hey, here's some places online you can go for help and get a critique group.
Oh, really? You have a list of places like that?
Yeah, we have some places like that.
I like that.
We use Scribophile. I go to Critique Circle. There are numbers out there. If you're a young writer, still in middle school or high school, places like Quotive or Figment are good.
I would like that list just.
But I took this guy's story, wrote back and said, hey, clean this up. And he responded real despondent about it. It's like, I don't know how to make my writing better. And he wrote back that said, when I went to school, they didn't really care that I knew how to write, only that I knew how to read.
Yep.
Right.
And
true.
I felt really bad for him. So I told him, look, I'll edit this for you, clean it up. I'll send you back all my edits so you can see what I did. And I put comments in there. this is why I made this change, and it was a pretty good story. And he sent me another one recently, and I could see where he had improved.
That's good.
That's
That's good.
So I felt like,
yeah.
we had,
helped somebody.
One of my best experiences with writing was actually rather frustrating. I entered Pazzos 5,000. No. Well, I entered the 5,000 word competition the year prior to the 2,000 word competition, and well, I got sick, so I didn't get to finish that one. So the next year, I said, I know that I didn't get to finish the competition last year. I emailed the line editor and said, can you look at this and see if it's publishable in an anthology? He said, well, we actually don't do anything with unpublished authors, but you can enter last year's story in this year's competition. So I just turned around thinking that he knew everything to know about the competition. And here he wasn't running any of it. It was run by not Pathfinder Society, but it was run by another. They just do all kinds of fiction stuff in correspondence with Pazzos.
Okay.
And I submitted it, and they said, your story's way too long. I go, well, but he said that I could submit it. And you're like, well, he doesn't really do anything with the story. I go, oh, well, what are the guidelines? And here, the story was due the next day, and it had to be 2,000 words. And I wasn't working, so I just spent the night trying to cut it to 2,000 words. And I looked at it when I got it down to 2,000 words. I said, this is just not going to work. Right. So I wrote a new story on the day of the deadline.
Wow.
Well, if you won the competition, you get published.
Right.
Nice.
You get published, and then you get a novel out of it.
Cool.
Whoa, that's nice.
That was the whole,
Yeah.
So I got that done, and they said, okay, you're not in yet. I go, why am I not in yet? You have to edit 3 stories.
Oh, other people's stories.
Other
right?
people who are competing against you.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like it could become a very backstabbing sort of thing to do.
My experience was most of the people were really good about it. Some people have no
Editing
tact.
skills.
Oh, no. So this guy was a real good editor.
Yeah.
He didn't like the way I wrote the story. I switched person on purpose a couple times, and he just rewrote the whole story in third person. Like 75% of the story became his.
Whoa.
I'm like, that's not editing.
Right.
That's authorship.
Right.
So I was really frustrated with that, and then a couple other people came and they did stuff before I got to finish reading his, and I felt much better. And I must have edited 15 stories by the time I was done in 24 hours.
Well, you're looking at the editors here. So we edited everything. I was very involved in the Con 1 and Con 2. But the clerics, charlatans, and cultists, I have a very difficult time reading horror. I am...
Skittish?
Not... Skittish isn't the right word, but impressionable. And I'm also a yoga teacher, and I believe that what you put into your body is very similar to what you put into your mind. So what are you reading? What are you looking at? What are you listening to? What are you watching on TV? That sort of thing. If you want to have serenity, then you probably shouldn't read about people being dismembered. It just doesn't do well. So I tried, and I started having nightmares, and I said to Erin, I'm sorry, honey, you have to take over the editorship of this book. Some of the stories I was he'd look at him and go, okay, Colleen, could you read this one, because I think you can get through this one. But yeah, we're the editors for everything too. So
well, that's good though. I mean, I was, when I did the competition, I was just really surprised that you had to edit other people who were competing against.
Yeah, that was a unique take. Well, I think if you're going to offer to publish somebody's work, okay, you can write, that's good, but you're going to send me stuff, and I'm going to have critiques about it as the editor.
Right.
And I'm going to send it back to you. It's like, I don't really like this. Maybe I have some advice on why I don't like it.
Well, and a lot of people took that approach.
And then,
right,
as the author, you got to be able to take that and go, okay, he didn't like this because now I have to fix it.
Right.
And if you don't know how to edit your stuff, then you're kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, self-editing is a skill that must be acquired, kind of like the
It
taste
is.
for
It
beer.
is. It is, and you have to have a thicker skin to it. You can't.
Well, I don't have thick skin. I have armor.
Yeah. So if you want your stuff out there, we tell writers, because the other thing that we do when we're at the con, or we've done when we're at the con, is we've run something called "So You Want to Be a Writer." Out of that, we managed to get one of our authors,
Right.
who just recently appeared.
What exactly is So You Want to Be a Writer?
People, I think people think that, and I don't know if this was a dictum from when I was growing up per se, but everybody's got a book in them, or everyone has a novel in them, or everyone has a story to tell. And I think people have taken that to heart, and that's fine. But if you truly want to be a writer, what are you doing about it? Are you interested in being a writer, first of all? And what does that look like to you? And how can we help you to hone that skill?
I like the play on words of, are you an author or are you a writer?
Right.
And then each individual, when I sit down and talk with people, what do they mean to you?
Right.
They really mean the same thing in modern day English language.
But they're not the same.
But if you go back to the roots of the words, writing is much more aggressive.
Absolutely.
It is an action word. It's a word that shows action.
Hello.
Hello, Andy.
What's going on?
Interview.
Andy.
Oh,
interview.
hey.
Hey, Andy's here.
Andy Hop, guys!
Hey!
Hi.
And some guy with hair back
That's
there.
Gus.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, I couldn't see.
Continue, please.
All right, we will continue.
We will continue.
Okay.
We were...
Writers and authors.
Writers versus
Oh, yeah.
authors.
Yeah, we were writers
and,
versus authors.
And so you want to be a writer, which
Yeah,
is
author
an
is...
event we run.
Well, author... It's not really... They're both... I don't remember now. I had a whole little thing written out. One... Writing is more action-packed, but it's both a noun and a verb, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas author is just a noun.
Right, and author to me implies a little bit more like ownership, whereas a writer to me pours a lot more into it.
To me, writing or writer seems much more like a profession too, rather than
Right,
being
correct.
an author.
Correct. I mean, they authored the Declaration.
Authors
of
write.
Independence, right.
Writers perform.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree with that. I do agree with that. And so one of the things that Erin and I do is get people together and try and suss out what, again, they see themselves as doing, what the roadblocks are to it, and then offer them up tips and tools to help them. And we even encourage them to send us their stuff so that, maybe if it's good enough, it'll get published. And it's nice to be able to do that.
So what is your next stop for conventions we're going to say the 2014 circuit, including the end of this year.
We were just talking about that this morning. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Origins for sure, right?
We would love to do Origins. Origins is maybe cost prohibitive. We would have to share space with somebody to do Origins.
Why don't they have a whole authors section?
Yeah, we haven't really gotten into exploring Origins yet.
I don't think they charge those people.
Okay.
Well, if that's the case, thank you for that advice, because we would love to do Origins. I think Origins would be a great
I
idea.
will try and contact somebody who I know. Well, I'll contact John Helfers, who's the line editor for Shadowrun.
Okay.
He's a little
Thank you.
slow to respond. I know he knows a lot of those authors.
Great. Well, we've got time.
And if I can ever get Mike Stackpole to return my emails, I.
Mike, if you're listening.
Yeah, if you're listening,
Well, he's on the
please
board.
return his emails.
You guys know who Mike Stackpole is, right?
I know lots of names.
Just Google him, and you'll be like, "Oh, he wrote this. He wrote this. He wrote this." He's had
Right.
several best-selling
Okay.
novels. It's insane. It's insane. I don't know if he's as big as Brandon Sanderson is, but he and Brandon Sanderson do the lectures at Dragon Con, and now they're
nice.
teaming up at Gen Con together.
Oh, nice.
So, and
Nice.
his lectures are really, really good.
Nice.
You walk for $8 in an hour. You walk away with so much information. It takes probably 2 or 3 days to sink in.
Wow. Well, we'll have to attend one of those.
His
Sounds
21 days to a novel is
Nice.
insanely intense.
Sure.
Is it out there anywhere? Is that information out there where anyone can just...
Someone probably has hacked it onto the internet somewhere, and he sells it.
Okay.
When he doesn't just sell that, you get like everything he's written on writing.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
like you get a pen with it, which is right, but it's got a four gig thumb drive in it, so that's kind of cool. But and that's where all the information is.
That's neat.
But it's like
What a
I
great
think that's
idea.
$125.
That sounds
But
worth
the
it, though.
the 21 days to a novel, I'm going through it now for a year because I thought
21 days. Bad math.
Huh?
21 days.
to a novel.
All right. You said you're going through it this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you're writing 30 novels.
No. I just don't always get to work on it every day.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I've got 3 kids that are in band.
Yeah.
Right. So in our So You Want to Be a Writer's Track, we talk about that. What keeps you from
What
writing?
keeps you from
Yes.
writing, and what's your roadblocks? And I want to mention to everyone that next month is NaNoWriMo.
National Novel Writing Month.
Really?
So
Yeah.
it's
I didn't know that.
50,000 words in a month.
That's
And
doable.
it's
That's 1,500 words a day.
1,500 words a day, and it's just write. No editing, just write.
Yep.
That's all. And I think that's good advice if you're going to sit down and you're going to write. Worry about the editing later. Put it out there. Put it on paper or on your computer or whatever you do, and then you're allowed to tear it apart and come back to it and do what you need to do. But you should really just sit down and write.
Yes, and well, I work in a factory, and I come home and it's like I sit down and I melt.
Right.
A lot of times.
Sure.
I know.
Well, there's all kinds of options for finding writing time. The general advice is, get yourself a dedicated space, wherever that is.
Yep.
If you got a den and you like your den, great. If you want to work at the kitchen table, work at the kitchen table. Some writers leave their house, they go to the library. I've heard one author who leaves the house and goes to the coffee shop. It's all noisy and chaotic, but they just like
It
that
works.
background
That's
noise.
where Mike Stackpole likes to write.
And-
His coffee shop.
Coffee
And
shops
my
are great
office
places.
is a little 2.5 foot wide seat on the bus.
Right.
I take the bus to work every day,
Really?
so it's an express route from Menor to Cleveland. So I got 40 minutes.
Oh,
Our first
now I know where you're from.
yeah, our first book was Erin wrote it completely on the bus.
Other than the act of taking the photographs for the stained glass, the entire book was done on the bus. Conviction 1, the entire book was done on the bus. The Clerics book was done on the bus. Conviction 2, I spent some time at home just
Right.
because of the timing. We finished Clerics in August, or towards the end of August, so I had September and 2 weeks in October to get all of the Conviction 2 book finished. So I did spend some time
Yeah.
at home, but I've gotten good. The bus
Is
my
the
office.
zone.
Yeah, I get on the bus and I'm like in the zone. Headphones go on, laptop comes
Yeah.
out, and I work.
I used to be in the zone when I came home from work, but lately with the heat, it's a lot of times it's 110, 115 in the factory.
Right.
So I come home, I eat, and it's like I don't want to do anything
I remember
Right.
those days.
except drink water.
Right.
And I don't remember where my summer went. I was on a real good roll until Easter. I mean, I was doing everything every day, and then Easter came and we got busy, and we haven't really slowed down yet.
Wow. Yeah.
And I've written, I think, over the summer, I've written 1 poem and 3 paragraphs on some short fiction. That's about it.
Right.
Because aside from my time off at Origins, I really haven't had time off.
Right.
And when I did have time off, it was running the kids somewhere
Sure.
around for band or
Sure.
Right.
Football games this time of
As a
year.
parent, there are unique challenges to being a writer.
Well, they're supposed to slow down to 3 days a week here soon, so
Yeah.
so I'll have
Give you a
time to
couple
write.
days, right. Right.
So your summer vacation as a parent is now in the fall while you're on that 3 or 4
This
months.
is actually my summer vacation.
Right. So you're on that sabbatical right now while you're
this is
doing
my-
the kid
yeah.
thing.
This is my 3 days of vacation in my first year. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm glad they gave that to me. Otherwise, I would not have been here this year.
Right.
We would have missed you.
Yes.
I would have missed me
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times I don't know what's going on. It's a weird. At times, it's just a weird place to work because it's supply driven.
Right.
Or demand driven, I should say, and we never know what our order is going to be. So a lot of times we go home at 4 o'clock and we have to check our schedule for the next day.
Right.
So I wouldn't have known if I was going to be working on Saturday or not even.
Oh wow.
But
Wow.
so you don't know where your cons are going to be at next year. And like I said, I'll try and get, not only will I try and get you information for Origins, I'll see about what the requirements are to join the Writers' Symposium for Gen Con.
That would be great. That would be great.
Because I'm pretty sure all those people get badges because they run seminars and
Right.
panels.
And we would love to do that.
I gathered that.
Yeah, we would really love to do that.
This year for
Well,
and that's why I was bringing it up, because I think I'm going to shoulder the burden of organizing it because of my responsibilities in the Writers Guild.
right.
I could probably get a couple of those writers to come up and talk about their experience for a day type of thing. I mean, they're not science fiction fantasy people at all, but they have experiences to share. Several of them have, well, not several, but about 4 of them have published multiple novels.
Good.
And some of them have been writing for 30 years
Nice.
or more.
Nice.
So there's a lot of experience to tap into. You may not, the first year is going to be a little weird trying to figure out what to talk about to some degree, I think, maybe. But if I copy the Writers' Symposium, I think we'll do well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
And actually, there are some of the Writers' Symposium authors that live in the Toledo area that would come down for the convention at Con.
It's not that far of a drive.
Yeah, Toledo, an hour and a half, 2 hours. Well, 2 hours to here.
2 hours to hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're closer to Toledo and Mentor, yeah.
Well, we're up in Mentor, so it's a half-hour drive to here and
It's pretty good for you.
2 hours to Toledo.
Right.
We're out where there be dragons out where we live.
Oh, the far east side.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's us, then Painesville, and then
Nobody.
Right.
Right.
And nobody. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, peoples, through Gamer Goggles, we're going to sign off. We will add information at the bottom of our blog page and even in the YouTube description for you as to where you can find out more about Gothic City Press, Sacred City Productions, and a direct link to, if they have it, which I'm sure you do have information for how they can become published with you.
Yep.
Yes.
Like a direct submission link.
Absolutely.
Yep, we have submission guidelines for authors and artists. So we're always looking
We're
for
always
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for artists too, because we do cover art that is original, and we do have some really nice cover art for our books. So we're always looking for artists too.
Have a good one. See you next year.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Hopefully.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.